Welcome to Rock That Relationship, a podcast about all things relationship with Corey and Tracy.
Now let's get real and start creating relationships that rock.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rock That Relationship. We are here in our series all about getting unstuck. And I couldn't be more excited about this episode. We're actually going to be talking about reflecting on stuckness and how to get out, maybe even in clever ways, with Nadine Corella, who started a Facebook group called Lesbians of Arizona, which I joined and came across a post, which is how we ended up getting connected. And then also Nadine is a DJ in the community. And so we're really excited because I love it when we can have people on that just talk about their own personal experiences and what drives them to do what they do. And this is a really kind of a personal series for me with this idea of being stuck, because I think we can all relate to it, right? We can all relate to being stuck in something, stuck in a process, stuck in a job, stuck in a situation. And I love it when we get to talk to other people to find out ways that they've tried to get unstuck. So Nadine, thanks so much for being here. We're so excited to have you on today.
Oh, thank you so much. This is just an amazing experience to be on this show. So thank you so much for having me.
Wow, thank you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, cool. Well, maybe you could just start by telling us a little bit about yourself. I mean, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I mean, something about an experience where you felt stuck. I know that the way that I've connected with you is through kind of healing from a breakup. Maybe have you felt stuck in a relationship or stuck trying to heal? And like, how have you moved through that process? Like, tell us a little bit about that journey for you.
Well, first off, I am a DJ in the community. I've been around. I'll let you know that I've been around for about 9 years. I would say that's kind of when I came out. I think it's going on 10 years now in the community, and I dove right in head first. So I've seen all walks of life and all different, kinds of people I've come across and things like that. And I've had several different relationships, failed relationships that actually ended really horribly for me, which I guess we could talk about later. But on the positive note, I'm really passionate about being a DJ. I love bringing people together. And of course, like you mentioned, I'm in this Facebook group that is another way to bring people together. So I've kind of branched out a little bit into the more healing space, to try to get people together and see if we can learn from each other, heal, share, our experiences, support one another, because I really think that is necessary.
Agree.
In the community.
Wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Nadine, where have you felt stuck? I mean, you created the Facebook group, I think, for a reason. You going through your own healing process. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have felt stuck several times in my life. Okay. This I wouldn't say final, hopefully I don't get stuck again, but, this latest time that I got stuck was actually due to a failed relationship that I thought was going to be the one. I don't know how many times I've told myself that, like, this is the one, this is the one. But this time I honestly really felt that this was the one. And the challenge was that my person that I was with at the time was telling me that I needed to look within. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking within. What is it that I'm not looking at? I mean, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm trying harder, I'm explaining, I'm making time for you, like what, so that was a moment in my life that I felt really stuck, okay? And the way and how I felt is just desperate, just desperate for answers. So I reached out to family, to friends, you name it. I started reading things online, videos, and it wasn't until I came across ChatGPT. ChatGPT was the moment of getting unstuck for me, because you don't know what you don't know, and I think that knowledge is key in trying to get unstuck. So for me, it was a turning point in my healing journey and realizing how much I didn't know, and it just kind of grew from there.
Okay, I guess I'm lost. What did ChatGPT do for you? Like,
okay, so ChatGPT, just to kind of enlighten you a little bit about what it is, it's basically AI. So it's only going to be as useful as the input that you put into it. Okay, so it's artificial intelligence. It's you ask a question, it's gonna spit out an answer. Now, Could it be misused? Possibly. So I don't think this should be a substitute necessarily for, mental health professionals and things like that. But it's definitely a great tool because you can use it to gain knowledge, asking questions. So I can give you an example, for instance. In one of the ways you can use it, and this is actually how I started, and this is how I dove really deep into this. I started by using a prompt that I used that said, hey, act as if you're a therapist and ask me 10 questions that deep dive into who I am. Here's what I want to know, and I explained what I wanted to know. I wanted to know, am I being too much? Is this person, exhibiting any behaviors that are not healthy? So you want to give it what you want to get out of it, if that makes sense. So that's basically how I started. I put the prompt in, it came back, it, lo and behold, spit out 10 questions or however many questions it was. I answered it, and then from there, you start going into a rabbit hole. So that's kind of how that works.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do? You journal about them, or you just think about them, or did you discuss them with other people?
So here's the thing. What's interesting about this? So before I started using ChatGPT, I was somebody that didn't think that I needed therapy. I was like, I'm pretty good. I go to the gym. I eat healthy. I do all the right things. I think I'm relatively healthy. I don't necessarily think that I need a therapist. Okay. It wasn't until ChatGPT that I realized, you know what? I probably do. And it's not anything bad.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. Okay.
Yep.
Because like I said, it's like you don't know what you don't know. Once you dive into it and if you become educated, then you're like, oh, I really need to talk to somebody about this. So that's actually the turning point in when I actually got a therapist involved. It's also a great tool because if you are going to be going the route of therapy, it will help you document your journey. So you know what progress you're making. It'll help you write journal entries. So you basically will tell it about things that like the way I use it in the moment. So if there's a conflict that's happening, I will put in, here's what I said, here's what the person said, and I get in real time like feedback, like, okay, this was healthy, this wasn't healthy, da 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 da.
I'm gonna do this right now while you're talking.
That is so cool. I can't believe it.
It is the most amazing thing, I swear. And then at the end of the day, you could say, can you give me a journal entry of what happened today? And it's going to know that because you already gave it what you were doing throughout the day. And it will write it in whatever format you want. It's the most amazing thing. And then for me, I use it as a learning tool because, I'm a visual learner. And sometimes reading, I may not comprehend, as well as like seeing something. So I have it make me infographics. I make it have me graphs. I see, where am I? Am I on the higher spectrum, the lower spectrum? And I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned that, in fact, I am an emotionally intelligent person. I didn't think I was, So there's definitely a lot of helpful things about ChatGPT. So there's a lot that I could really say about it. I've learned so much, and I have a background in tech, in my day jobs that I've had in the past. So I'm a pretty tech savvy person. So, I'm always down to answer any questions you have about it.
That's awesome. What you said something about figuring out that you were emotionally intelligent. What were some of the other prompts that maybe generated the biggest ahas for you?
Okay, so here's the things that it did uncover for me that I didn't realize. So the emotional intelligence obviously was one of them, but I also asked it things in regards to, okay, well, what does that actually mean? How do you know that you're emotionally intelligent? So the more you deep dive into it, the better it is, the better tool it is. So I started to ask, how did you know this? And it would feed me some other information as to how it came to that conclusion. It may give me examples. It may, whatever it is that I asked it, right? Then it also helped me uncover the personality type that I have. So I realized that I actually have a very rare personality type. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Something else I learned about myself. I also learned how deep of a thinker that I am. I didn't think I was really that deep. I know that I'm somebody who does like to have one-on-one conversations, but I didn't realize that I'm someone who actually thinks deeper than the average person. And it was something that ChatGPT was able to, get all the information together. It kind of compared me against how people think typically and where I ranked, and it gave me a graph, and you know what I mean? So it kind of gives you a good perspective where you are, how you think. Like I said, it's only as good as how you use it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I know on Facebook, you put a bunch of the prompts you used. Are you okay if we put those in the show notes to give people
Oh,
a starting
yeah.
place?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I recommend it. I think that's a great starting point.
That would be great. I feel like Tracy is contemplating using this in this very real time right now. Tracy, what
I
do you?
just did. That's what I've been doing.
So you're doing this now. So you put something in ChatGPT. What did you put in ChatGPT? What?
The breakup text that I just received after meeting someone, like after spending a lot of time talking and then meeting in person and then getting some very sweet messages this morning and then out of nowhere received a breakup text.
Oh my
Or
God.
I'm not interested in pursuing anything with you romantically. Like, to my complete blindsided shock.
Wow. I know, like 5 minutes before we started. So
I put it in there and I said, at first thought I was sending it. And so then I said, no, I received this. And it was like, okay, well, do you want, it broke it down, said this person's not interested in pursuing a romantic relationship with you. They're trying to be polite and ending on a good note by telling you to have a good summer. Do you want help with the response? Yes. So then it wrote like a more formal response. And then it said, do you want one that actually expresses your feelings? How are you feeling? Hurt, blindsided, disappointed? And I said, blindsided and disappointed. And it wrote, like, do you want to send a bitter one, a happy one, like more, they gave me 3 different options of how to respond. But I've already texted and we're going to talk tonight. So, I've already headed that off, but it affirmed, basically, I do this, right? I'm a lawyer. I do this relationship podcast. This is my life. And so it was kind of all the things that I would suggest to someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So spot on. And so I guess if a person was like totally, didn't have support, didn't have people to talk to, it is really helpful. I can see that, although you need humans too. I think that can like distill some stuff or help you craft a response, but I still don't think like once you've been disappointed or you have feelings about something, you still need people, in my opinion.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Well, part of that is like, I think Nadine, what you're talking about is that first step of kind of that self-understanding, the self-learning.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes it's like overwhelming to even know what to process with someone else, like what to go to therapy for, until you do some of your own internal meaning making. So that seems like ChatGPT would be super helpful for something like that, the meaning making, and then you can sort of process through. So you said it sort of urged you into getting therapy. Have you been able to explore some of these particular things with the therapist?
Yes. So it actually has helped accelerate the healing that I'm doing. So I have been to therapy before. So just so you know, I have gone before, but this was prior to ChatGPT. And like what you're saying, I went into therapy before not knowing what it was I was in therapy for. I was just there because I just felt stuck. You know what I mean? There was another time in my life I felt stuck. It was on a prior relationship. And I was just there telling them the story, and I felt like, okay, well, I guess you're just there to vent, and then you feel good and you go home. And I did not honestly know what the point was of therapy other than that, right? And it wasn't until, like I said, I did my own homework that it really changed how therapy works for me. So now when I go in, I come in prepared. I have questions. I have a journal that I just reflected on that I'm like, hey, let me go over this with you. Can you tell me what you think about this? Here's a scenario that I went over a couple days ago with a family member. May I go over the transcript with you? And I can pull it up in ChatGPT, go over it with the person. So that way, like, my sessions are more value added. I get more out of them. You know what I mean? So it's like what I'm saying. It's a great tool to help you to get unstuck, be knowledgeable, be more empowered in your own healing journey, and even help the therapist help you, help them help you. So like I said, it's there's so many uses that sometimes I don't even realize. Like, for example, when you were doing the prompt, Tracy, that you just did, it gives you these different suggestions at the end. You never know. It's kind of one of those books that you used to read when you were a kid, and it said, turn to page 12 if you want to do this, or turn to page 8 if you want to do that.
Yep.
It's literally going to take you in different directions that you don't even know. And then you may go down a rabbit hole and discover something you didn't even know was a thing. And that's kind of that's what happened with me. So.
No, that is so cool. Yeah, I was just on ChatGPT earlier today trying to figure out a name for my new book. And wow, I was like down this way big rabbit hole. I'm like, make it playful and witty, but not too, over the top. And I was like giving it, and it's like, okay, so what you want is, and it's like, it's super intuitive. And I like when looking at your prompts, one of the things I liked was like you could correct along the way. So you could say, here's my prompt. And then if you're not getting what you want, you could say, like you have one that's a follow-up, focus on the real roots of my behavior. Be compassionate. Don't sugarcoat it. Like you're telling it how you want the information to, not just what information you want.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the more deeper level thinking that you have and input that into ChatGPT, the better quality of an answer you're going to get. So if you can be detailed about it, say exactly what you're looking for, then you know that you'll get a quality response from it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Wow. Well, that is so cool. Tracy, are you still working on your prompt here?
Yeah, I'm just a little bit in shock. Sorry.
She's in shock. Well, you'll get some more answers tonight, but I think
maybe.
Well, let me ask you though, Nadine, really a question, because I think, you've talked about being stuck before, and, aside from ChatGPT, which I think is so awesome, and I can't believe that our listeners are going to get some of your prompts and they're going to see all this stuff. Like, what other things have you done? I know you created the Facebook group. To what extent was that like part of your healing process to create that space?
Well, let me tell you a little bit about that healing group, because actually my healing didn't really start when I was having these recent issues with my recent ex. This actually started on a prior ex, a couple exes ago, actually, 2 years ago. So 2 years ago is when I would say I probably officially started my healing journey, because I can tell you that was probably the worst thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I've never had a more horrible ending of a relationship in all of my time of dating in the community. And I was probably the most stuck in that scenario. And so the things that I did was just the basics. Honestly, I started out just going for a walk, just getting dressed, get out of bed, go take a shower, just do your hair, do your makeup, just eat better, talk to a friend, go out. It's basically forcing yourself into positive movement in your life. So it's that first step. And I started out by walking, and I walked, I would say, several times a week, just to the mailbox and back. And then I'm like, I can go further than that. And I would go to the end of the block and back. Then I would go around the block, Then I'm like, I'm going to jog a little bit. So then I started the gym. So, I mean, that was some of the things that got me started. But also in that time, I didn't have a support group other than my family, but my family couldn't really relate to what I was going through at the time. And I did reach out to Facebook and some of the friends, and, they did help me. There was some people that did kind of help me, but I'm thinking to myself, there's not really a space that I can just have support, like, hey, a support group or whatnot. So that's where the support group came into play. I created a support group where, I'm sure there's other people like me that don't have a place to go or who to talk to. And maybe they're talking to friends or family. Maybe they're not getting good information. It's like I said, it's only good. The information is only as good as the source of where you're getting it from. So why not get it from people that have actually been there? Like, and there's so many times that I've come across people that's like, I've been there, or I've had a relationship like that. And I'm like, we should have a central place that we can all come together and like share our stories, share resources. And that, like I said, with the ChatGPT, that came kind of later. And that's when I put the prompt, and that's where we met, because you were part of that healing journey, because like I said, it started about 2 years ago, and here we are now. So this is also even part of the healing journey. So I'm not even there yet. I'm still on that journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this. Well, and it's like everything we do ends up being part of this journey. I mean, I think about, my healing process after a really devastating breakup. It was like sometimes you didn't even know what the journey was going to be. It was just like there was an opportunity, and then you just go there, and then you're like, this, go there, and all of a sudden it's like it takes on like its own life, right? Like the healing, and so every part of it, being on the podcast is a chance for you to talk about something on the podcast. Maybe that's part of your healing journey. Maybe whatever happens next week is you had no idea was coming is going to be part of your journey. And that's in some ways that's kind of nerve wracking for people like me who really like to have things planned out. But some ways it's also really invigorating, because you just never know all the cool things that are going to come along that are going to help you learn about yourself and move you forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just never know. It's a journey. Life is a journey. I've come to find out that, this healing journey itself is an up and down situation. I mean, you come across people like how I've met you, and I've met many people in my journey, and you just never know where you're going to end up. But I think that the most important thing that I've learned on this journey is having a mindset of growth,
Mm-hmm.
and also being someone that has the will. And even if you don't have the will, at least, just the capability of being able to just take that step. I mean, I know at the time when I started, I did not want to take the step. I was perfectly fine just being bedridden, or you know what I mean? It's easier to take that
Mm-hmm.
route. But, I was able-bodied, and I forced myself because deep down I knew that that was going to be good for me. But like I said, the healing journey has been great. It's been beautiful. It's honestly, I recommend it to anyone who is feeling stuck, to just take that first step, and you never know where you're going to end up. I mean, I was someone that, was stuck at some point, and now here I am on a podcast. So, you know what I mean? You just never know where you're going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like life is just a series of trying to get at, like endure stuff. It's like an endurance marathon,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and the more you know about yourself, the more prepared you are and the more capable you are of going through it. So like I feel like the one breakup that I had that was so devastating was so different than the ones I'd been through before. And I mean, it required me to do all sorts of like very, very intense things to try to get through my healing process. And I ended up writing a book about it called The Soulmate Strategy. And it was just all about everything I tried to get through the healing process. Some things worked and some things really didn't. But at the same time, like I feel better prepared to get myself unstuck from those things and get through a healing process more. I don't want to say efficiently because it's not a race, but just like not spending time on things that I know aren't going to work, but also spending time on things that are. And I'm just much more self-aware, right? Like it sounds like Nadine, now that you know about your emotional intelligence, now that you know about your personality type, like as you move through healing in the future, because there will be healing from whatever it is. We all experience continued loss, whether it's romantic relationships or otherwise. You will be better prepared and better suited to be able to endure, like Tracy's saying, endure that process.
Oh yeah, for sure. And with all that I've learned about myself, it has definitely helped me process things. Whether it be grief. I mean, in this healing journey, I'm not gonna lie, it is not for the weak. I mean, you have to be prepared for it because you may dig deep into something and that you didn't know you needed to dive into, and you may not like what you see, but the key is to build those tools, that arsenal of tools, to be able to be equipped to handle it. So, I've dealt with grief, I've dealt with acceptance, now I'm on this transformational level of healing, and like I said, it's necessary though to be able to move through it and get through it. And but in the process, learning about myself, it's like, okay, I'm feeling grief right now, but I know how to handle it. That's where the emotional intelligence comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to face it, and then knowing how to move forward, or deal with that.
Mm-hmm. It's like a skill set. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
So were there things that you actually tried in your process here of your healing journey, whether it was from the one big breakup you're talking about or something more recent that didn't work for moving forward, like things that you tried and that did? I can tell you one thing that did not work for me is love crystals. Like I went and got to a crystal shop. I bought these love crystals. I sat them by my bed and I said these little mantras. My mantra was, I am grateful for my healing process. And then I would burst into tears and open my sweaty palm and pour the rocks back out on like a little tray. And I did this every night and I was like, this is not working for me. And so I'm like, I am not grateful for my healing process. Do you have anything that stands out to you that maybe you tried? You're like, that didn't work for me. And I mean, no harm about love crystals because sometimes they work for people, but it's all personal preference. So for you, did you have anything that didn't really like work for you and you sort of changed directions?
I did actually, because like I said, I've been around, I'm older, and I've tried, like I said, and I've been through many times that I've been unstuck. So some of the things that I've tried that didn't work, that I didn't realize were not working, but I thought it was, I would reach out to certain family members that I thought, this is going to help me. And I would continue to reach out to the same family member thinking that I was getting good information, not realizing this person was hindering my growth or wasn't really a good source of help, but in my mind, I thought they were because they were a trusted person, and whatnot. So that's where you have to, again, get the skills necessary to understand, is this healthy for me? Is this relationship healthy for me? Another thing that I've tried, I am spiritual, religious, and I'm not saying it doesn't work, because who knows, I'm not at the finish line yet. Maybe time will tell if this actually works, but I have tried that route, getting into my spirituality and things like that. It helped in terms of maybe just making me feel better, but did it actually solve the problems? No, it still actually had to come from within. I still had to do the work. You can't really just kind of pray it away, in my experience, So there's a couple things. Other things that didn't work, again, were just because I wasn't doing the right things to fix the problem. So yes, I was eating healthy. Yes, I was going to the gym. Yes, I was checkmarking all the boxes that I thought were going to help me get unstuck. But I continued to be in the same patterns over and over and over. I continued to be in the same relationships, getting stuck again. And that's how I realized that it's not working. So, at the time I thought it was working because it made me feel better in the moment. And, yes, it is healthy. And you do want to put your body in the best possible state to be able to, you want a healthy mind and you want a healthy body, obviously. But it's really honestly doing the inner work. And that's something I did not know until I got to that level in my healing. But yeah, those are a couple things I would say that it helped, but didn't actually get me unstuck.
Yeah. Gotcha. I know. Well, I had the love crystals. Tracy, what have you had that you've used in a healing process that you thought would work, but didn't really pan out for you?
Talking to the tree that then I later cut down.
Give people more context about talking to
Well, the psychic told me I needed to talk to the tree to communicate with the person who was, I mean, I've been in a situation now with 4 runners in a row, right? Like avoidant attachment style. And that's what just happened to me. And I thought, like last week, is this a test that I'm going to fail because I'm going to get involved and then I'm going to get hurt? And at the time, that first runner, like the psychic, was it the psychic who told me, communicate with the tree, the trees communicate with her on this other level. So I did. Then I ended up cutting that tree down. Not because of that, it's because it had huge knots, like 1,000-pound knots. And if they fell, they would, crush my house. But I cut down a massive tree that I used to stand in my front yard and talk to. And that's where I'm just like, I mean, I don't even know, right? The only thing that works, like what works for me is talking it out with friends, talking it out with a therapist, and just processing. And I have to accept what is, right? And if people are going to run from you, I mean, there's nothing that you can do, right? So I'm just about to now have to go through this process again, where I've been pretty blindsided, and based on some things that were sent earlier, just really took me, it was like out of nowhere. And so I had that fear, right? And I don't know, like going forward in life, like, can I trust, and how am I going to do this again? Right. So now I need to think like, okay, what am I going to use? Like, I'm going to use my friends. I'm going to use my therapist. I'm going to, use Buddhism to accept what is. Like, I can't change someone else. I can't change their path. I can't convince somebody, to do something different than they want to do, and just to accept it and, live with it. It just is what it is.
Right?
Right?
Getting unstuck is acceptance. I mean, Nadine, you talked about how that was like you're talking about going through the stages and you have grief and acceptance. Like, what did you do for acceptance with these breakups? Like, how did you come to say, like, it is what it is?
Honestly, that was a process. It was not an easy thing. Honestly, I think that was one of the things that was hardest for me throughout my life. And actually, that's probably where I was always getting stuck, because I didn't want to accept something. I can even tell you when I came out. When I came out, it was like 10 years ago. And I'm 40 now. So, I mean, I'm late in life, coming out. And it was because I couldn't accept that I was, in fact, not heterosexual, so that was a time that, it took me a while to get unstuck. And so eventually I became unstuck from that and came out, and, one thing led to another. But, here I am now getting stuck in relationships, and, I've had similar, like what you were just talking about, people blindsiding you with a breakup. I'm like, I didn't even know that was the thing. Like, is this,
Right.
it's a very common thing, you know, in the community, you know, that
Is
I've
it?
experienced.
Is it the community, or is it like just society in general?
I
I'm
have
so taken aback. Like, you don't even know the weekend that I had with this person.
Oh, trust me, okay, so just to give you a little bit about me too. I had a similar experience. One weekend we went on a most amazing trip, talking all this, you know, like it was
Like,
gonna
no
happen.
problems, not
Yes,
fighting or anything. Right.
right. It was magical in my eyes. I thought it was great.
Right.
And then 4 days later, complete just, you know, like I was nothing, you know, just complete discard. So
Mhm.
how do you do that? You know, like that's crazy. So and I've had the similar experiences dating the other sex because this was before I came out, you know,
Right.
and I have not always dated women. And yes, there was some challenges with that, but honestly, my experience in the community here is that it's a lot more common than my experiences when I was dating the opposite sex, you
No.
know.
And did
And
you
I think,
ever get answers on that, or what happened, or
no, I have not.
no clarity?
Nope.
Yeah.
Just I had to, I guess to answer your question about acceptance, that was the time that I had to give myself closure. I had to
Mhm.
accept that this person is who they are. There's nothing I can do. I'm sitting here and going over it in my head multiple times, different scenarios. Maybe if I say this, maybe if I would have done this,
Mhm.
is it going
Right.
to change the outcome?
Right.
So that is one of the hardest things in being able to get unstuck is just to accept, because then you can move forward.
Right.
You can't move forward if you don't accept, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because otherwise you're
Right.
still stuck in the past trying to figure it
Right.
out.
Right.
So part of that
Yeah.
acceptance is just saying you're not going to know, and you can't know, and you at some point
If
don't need to
somebody
know.
doesn't want to give you those answers, there's nothing that you can do.
That's
Yeah.
your
Right.
closure.
Yeah, you give yourself the closure is really what I've learned in that. Again, it goes back to ChatGPT and even online resources and just other things too, even to bouncing it off of my friends and just a lot of different things that people are who they are, and you just have to accept them as they are.
Mhm.
And sometimes, you know, that is your closure. And that's how I was able to accept, you know, just to understand that the person was just not capable. It's not you. It's not a personal thing most of the time. It's really the levels of capacity this person has to communicate, their
Mhm.
upbringings, you know, so you own what is yours, and, you know, leave it in their hands on their
Mhm.
own healing journey of what they need to correct, you know.
Look
That's
at
what
that.
I've learned.
Such good advice, right? Part of the healing journey is being able to give back, right? And like share
Yep.
your healing and those kinds of insights with other people.
Yep.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question kind of as we think about some of the other things you learned. What do you wish that you had known at the beginning of your healing process, like to get unstuck from your situation that you know now? Like if you could go back in like a time machine and could have done something differently. I mean, you talked a little bit about talking to family, but like thinking about, are there things that would have been helpful, but also are those the things that you needed to learn when you learned them? So really you're glad that you learned them later on because that was the learning itself. You know what I mean? Like at what point do you have a time machine?
Right, exactly. Well, it kind of goes to one of my favorite quotes of all time by Steve Jobs, that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots somehow connect in your future. So who's to say if now is the best time that I should have learned this, or maybe back then would have been a good time to learn this. I just have to trust this where I'm at in life now, that I've learned it now. Now, if I could tell my younger self to speed this process up, I can tell you this was where the aha moment, and I wish I would have known this. And had I known this, maybe could have accelerated my healing. I started with attachment styles. So once I went down that rabbit hole of attachment
Mhm.
styles, it was a game changer. And I wish someone would have said that long ago, that said, hey, look, maybe you
Right.
should look into this. Or maybe when you go to therapy, ask about, you know, finding out what your attachment style is, you know, something to that effect. Also, just the technology, well, it wasn't possible back when I was healing other times because the technology wasn't really there yet. In some of the times that I was getting stuck in the past, you know, because now we have AI, you know, we didn't have AI back then. You know, did we have Facebook? Yes, but it wasn't like the Facebook we have now. I mean, did we have groups? Yes, but they're not as, you know, popular as they are now.
Right.
Some of my friends maybe were the people that I've met, I didn't meet back then, or there's just so many
Right.
factors that go into like what resources you have. But maybe that's, it was an appropriate time for me now to learn, because here we are in this digital age, and now we're doing, these video conferences, and, with the pandemic that happened. I mean, everything has changed now. Our world is so different now than what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But had we had these things happen in the past, I think those would have helped me to progress in my healing journey a lot, like further along than where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. Like, if you were to look into the future, are there things that you haven't tried for healing that you think, hey, this could be really cool for me to try?
The only thing right now that I'm thinking in terms of the future is, because right now I feel like I'm in I wouldn't say like final stages, but the advanced healing, because I don't think you're ever done healing. You're always healing from something, but I'm in the phase of helping others. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the Facebook group has actually really come into play. I mean, it was the beginning of my healing journey, and now it's becoming like, okay, this is like towards the phase of trying to help others now. I have a platform to do so now that I'm in a better space. So right now, looking into the future, I'm looking at getting a certification in being a coach in the LGBTQ plus community. So that's, again, another level to my healing. And I'm pretty hopeful that, I'm going to be able to use my personal experiences as well as now education to maybe help others, in their healing journeys.
That's awesome. It reminds me a little bit when I was going through my healing journey. I was about, what'd you say, Tracy, 10 months in or so, 11 months in, and we decided to launch the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And at first we were doing it, we were like, well, we could have all these experts on and then they could help us like work through our stuff, because she was going through some stuff too. And like you had just been in the breakup with the tree lady. And we were trying to figure out
The tree lady.
I was calling the tree lady for now. And we were like, the same kind of thing. Like maybe I can help others, through the process of this. And so it's really interesting how not only is that useful for other people, but it's also like really helpful for like you're learning about yourself, right? I know you post on there, like I'm in your group, and you post something pretty much like every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And it's like a lot of them are really nice quotes or like things about just, kind of healing or, being your whole self or whatever they are. They're really nice messages. And I know that even though, even people who don't necessarily click on them and like them are reading them, and it's probably changing their day, right?
Yeah.
And that stuff matters. And the more you can do, like if you go into coaching and you do some more of these more overt kinds of connections with people, it's going to be even more impactful.
Yeah. I mean, that's just my goal. I mean, when I like what you're saying with this podcast, that's how it is with me in the group. It is not only just for other people, but it also helps myself, because maybe I need to pick me up. And if I need to pick me up, I'm sure somebody else needs to pick me up. So I'll put, a positive quote out there. I'll put something I learned out there. Like maybe this is something other people didn't know that I just learned, So that was the whole purpose of behind that group. That's how it started anyway. And then now it's becoming, like I said, part of the healing journey where like, hopefully I'm going to meet people that need to hear this, maybe they even reach out to me, and then I feel, great, like I'm able to get like that satisfaction of being able to help somebody else, and it helps fill your cup, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
well,
it's
I'm
really...
here. I'm in your group, and now I'm going to have to reach out to you to get over this, like, blindsiding.
Yeah,
there you go. Heal people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
It's all
that's all you can do. Like, I mean, and that's the thing is we can't change other people. We can only deal with what comes to us, and how do we deal with it,
Right. Yep.
Well, and I like to oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you can only control yourself. That is like the biggest thing I've learned.
Exactly. Well, I was going to say too that the group is also nice because there's not only people are like learning from each other and feeling support from each other, but it's probably a great group of people who are there for friendship, because you have to be at least a little bit emotionally intelligent to know that you need to be in a group like that. So you're probably finding the people that are joining that group are people that really like doing the work, like talking about it, and maybe could form some friendships to be supports for each other, and as they go through their journey. And then sometimes you're not in like a state of healing, it just depends. Like sometimes we're always healing, like you said, but sometimes we're in a much greater state of healing after like grief or loss, but sometimes it sort of fades away. Like Tracy is like obviously just started this place of healing that started about 30 minutes ago, and for me, I had been in a relationship for a really long time, and now I'm not in that relationship just very recently. And so like I'm doing my own healing journey again, right? So, well, awesome.
Yeah.
Nadine, tell us a little bit about how people get connected with you. And we're going to also put this in the show notes, but how do people connect with you? Because I mean, you may have some people who want to get coached from you, so I hope you get that coaching certification soon.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of business.
My schedule's going to get filled up pretty soon, I can imagine. So I am primarily, I came from the DJ background. I still actually am a DJ. So on Instagram, I go by dj.dizzy. So that is my Instagram, my official Instagram, the only one I have right now, but it's not necessarily about healing per se, but I do heal through music. So I will post things there that are kind of in conjunction with healing, but more related to music. So that is one. The other one is that Facebook group. So it's the Lesbians of Arizona Facebook group, a community of support. So I'm always in there. My DMs are usually pretty open. If I do get tied up, then I do have a Calendly that you can book in a session or appointment, and we can talk and that type of stuff. I would say that I'm also trying to launch a group session in Clubhouse. So my name there, I want to say, is DJ Dizzy. I don't think that there's DJ.Dizzy. I'm sorry, DJ.Dizzy on that one because it matches my Instagram. So make sure you got the dot there because there's another DJ Dizzy out there. But I'm also trying to launch where there is a group session, like a group therapy session. And then there's another group in there that I've created called Lesbians Earning Security, which is having to do with the attachment styles. That's also another group that I'm going to try to get together. And then I launched a page that corresponds to that group on Clubhouse. So these are all things that are in the works. They're not like fully 100% launched yet. It's just things that I'm trying to polish up, and then eventually I will publish and make people aware of it.
Awesome.
That is awesome. Well, I'm really glad that I came across your post and I came across your group, so that we could connect and have you on here. And I mean, your insight was, for one, it's super insightful, right? Like this idea that there's really kind of innovative ways to show up in your own healing process, take ownership of it, give back, right? But it's also inspirational because sometimes it's hard. Like when you were talking about like where you start, sometimes it's just walking to get the mail. Like sometimes you have to not like think too big, right? Like you just like take it one day at a time, and it's okay. Give yourself some grace in the process. Just, So I like that you have both of those, right? Like this idea of like take it slow and be, kind of like give yourself grace, but also like go bold, do some big things, try these things out, try out ChatGPT. And I love that too.
Yeah. So just one little fun fact about me too, and this is having to do with my DJ, but like what you just said kind of prompted me to say, even in the DJing, that really actually helped me heal too, because I started out as a bedroom DJ. I did it as a hobby, and then eventually that's how I kind of came out into the community, is being a DJ. And then I eventually, in 2022, I competed against a DJ in a DJ contest in Dinah Shore, and I ended up being a finalist on that, and then I ended up winning. So you just never know. You just have to take that step. It's always the first step is the hardest, and you never know where it's going to lead you. So.
Amazing.
Awesome. That is awesome. And one of the things I really like about that too is that sometimes you find healing in the most uncanny of places, right? Like sometimes we focus a lot on the things like we're talking about, reading the books, listening to the podcasts and self-reflection, but sometimes it's just going and doing what you love and showing up in the rest of your life that can actually give you the empowerment to move through in those parts that are hurting and that are aching, right? So your DJ stuff is like, you just blow up. I love it.
Oh, yeah. It's been an amazing journey. Like I said, I've learned so much about myself in not only just DJing, but me personally now. So now I'm kind of more on the soul searching, learning myself as an individual, as a person. Like, who am I? What makes me tick? Like, because we all need connection. We all need healthy relationships, I think, in our lives. It's going to help our quality of life, to have positive people that are going to influence us to be better and all that kind of good stuff. So this is kind of where I'm at now personally, is trying to just get better in this area of my life. And hopefully, we'll see where we end up. So.
Well, awesome. It seems like you're off to a great start. And anyways, Nadine, thank you so much for being on here today. We really appreciate it. And I can't wait for our listeners to hear all of your great ideas and enthusiasm for them. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm just so passionate with all of what I've talked about today. So I really, really appreciate you giving me that opportunity to be on this platform.
Thank you. And I'm already in your group, and I just friended you, and now I'm going to lean on you for helping me through this blind
all right.
fighting.
That's awesome. Well, thank you.
All right. Well, we are all connected now, and hopefully our listeners are too. So until our next episode, go out there and rock those relationships. If you liked what you heard, check out our show notes for resources from today's episode. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram under Rock That Relationship, and go to our website at rockthatrelationship.com for updated episodes and more great information.
Thanks for listening. Now go rock those relationships.